Hello and good morning, friends. Today, while I go hiking through these woods, I want to talk to you about something very important about why not pumping your septic tank after 16 years is a bad idea. Let's get into it. So here's the deal, right? This property, 1997. Nothing super crazy, nothing fancy. Everything looks like it's in pretty good shape for this house, right? Well, we get contacted to come over, take a look at the septic, make sure everything's working, doing what it's supposed to do. Usually during this process, especially when a home buyer is trying to purchase the house, what we do is we ask the seller, hey, where is it? And when was the last time you took care of it? Like, when's the pumping schedule? How many people live here? What do you do to maintain this house? So we get there, we ask this guy, says, hey, it's him and his wife, no big deal. And then, it's slightly to the left of a giant bush. And I thought was like, oh, I sure hope it's not a really big bush. It was, right? And then on top of that, he said, I haven't pumped it in 16 years because we don't need to. Now, let's talk about why that's a bad idea. So when you have a septic system, right, the tank, its job is to capture the solids. The absorption system, which is part of the septic system, its job is to get rid of the liquid. So when you have your tank capturing all the solids, well, unless you have a really, really, really good gut biome, and you're taking care of everything the way you're supposed to, the odds of you getting away with not having to pump it are slim to none, right? You're more likely to run into issues while you're doing that than by not, right? And what we're doing right now is we're taking a break because we got a long way to go. We're gonna hang out by this retaining wall that we can see over here, right? So while we're talking about this, I want you to keep in mind that this home's only about 30 years old. Not quite there yet, but it's getting there. And most septic systems last about 30 or 40 years. So we shouldn't be having any problems. Or if we do, they should be really, really minor, small problems. But so this guy tells me, hey, we don't need to pump out our tank. And we know what that means, right? So get to the property. Homeowner's like, yeah, it's to the left of the bush. This bush is giant, dude. Like, this thing is huge. It's probably like if you put two minivans back to back, big old bush. And I start probing around, hitting nothing, didn't find a clean out, no riser, nothing like that. So usually if I can't find a septic tank in a few minutes, the next step, what I do is I pull out the metal detector. And the reason I pull the metal detector out is I want to sweep the ground with the metal detector looking for the rebar in the concrete. So I sweep all over this place, nothing. I go in a grid light pattern, look left, right, up, down, nothing anywhere at all on the left side of this guy's bush. So now I'm getting frustrated. It's been about 35 minutes, 40 minutes, still can't find the tank. It's really tedious. The next step, what I do is I grab my camera and I say, okay, well, the camera's got a locator on it. It's a little radio at the end of the camera head. So what I'll do is I'll just open a sewer stack in the house, run the camera to the tank, boom, problem solved. You would think. Now, when they finished the basement, what they did was they covered their sewer stacks. So this is another reminder that if you have an unfinished basement, you're gonna have a sewer pipe and you're gonna have an access cap to that sewer pipe. It's very important to make sure that when you do finish it, you can get to that sewer stack, because one day, some poor schmuck like me, or maybe you have a clog, somebody's gonna have to get in there to dislodge whatever that is. So we look around, no dice. We're kind of stuck, right? The next step, all I can really do is, well, now I guess I gotta go on the roof. On your roof, you're gonna have these vent stacks, right? It's kind of there to help with the drainage of the water, but it also helps to off-gas some of the sewer smells, right? The best way to visualize what the purpose of those vent stacks is, take a 2-liter bottle, turn it completely upside down, you'll see it glug, 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 glug. Same concept happens for your plumbing if you don't have a vent stack to allow that water to go. It'll make a lot of noises, it won't drain correctly, you'll just have some problems. Not a good idea, right? So these vent stacks, they will connect to the main sewer stack, right? Generally, it'll connect to the first pipe straight up and down, and then you'll have a couple of smaller vents throughout, depending on how big the house is, right? So 1-story building, not too crazy. Get on the roof, toss the camera down. We're going. I'm about 130 feet into this pipe. Now, in our area, you have to have an access cap every 75 foot. Unfortunately, this house did not have that, right? So we're off to a great start. No idea where the tank is, can't find it. Homeowners, no idea where it is, can't find it. 16 years since anybody's touched it, no idea what's going on in there. No access caps that are accessible at all. Running the camera all through the pipe. It's driving me insane, right? So we go a little bit further, till eventually I find the tank, about 150 feet away, right? As we're going, it's just getting harder and harder to push the camera, which is why it kind of sucks that it's as far away as it is. So we find the tank, locate it. It's about 1.5 feet down, but is it to the left of the bush? No. It's not even remotely close to the bush at all, right? It's on the other side of the property of this bush. So we find it, dig up the tank, and then what do we see? The baffle's missing. Well, crap, when did that fall off, right? So in septic systems, you're gonna have these things called baffles. Basically what they are is a shield. You got one in the front that slows down the water, lets everything separate out, but then you have another one in the back, and its sole purpose is to stop all that floating stuff from getting into the drain fields, causing clogs, issues, premature failure, all that good stuff. Well, when I open up this lid, guess what was missing? The back baffle, that's right. Sewer gas, super corrosive. When the baffles are made of concrete, what'll happen is that corrosive gas will actually chew up the concrete until eventually it just kind of falls off on its own accord. This used to have been made out of concrete, and then eventually it just fell off. Now, it's been 16 years, so it could have fell off 5 months ago. Could have also fell off 15 3/4 years ago. So who knows what kind of damage we had. So now we needed to investigate even further to figure out, okay, it's full of solids. There's like 3 feet of solids and there's only 4 foot of total depth in the tank. So it is full, right? No baffle. So all that scum is just going into the drain fields. Now we got to figure out where the drain fields are. So that's where I put the camera into the pipe to find the distribution box. And then we're going to go ahead and see what happens to these drain fields. Right. So this property that was 16 years since anybody's taken care of anything. We find baffles missing, run the camera to the distribution box. We find the distribution box. Now what do we find, right? So we go ahead, we dig up the distribution box. It's standard, plain Jane, basic 6-hole box, nothing crazy, made of concrete, just a little bit below the surface. We dig that up, right? Now, the amount of sludge that was in this box is absurd. You could basically shovel it out and it's basically like you're digging out dirt. Not good. Another example of why you need to make sure you have a baffle in your tank, and if you're getting your tank pumped, that they're looking to see if the baffle's still there, and if it's not, that you replace it when you can, right? So the issue that we ran into with this one, ton of sludge in this box. We get the box open, we run the camera through the pipes. We've got 3 drain fields, right? Drain fields are designed to dissipate the liquid into the surrounding soil. So in our area, they're just about 2 to 3 feet wide, 6 to 10 feet deep, 50 to 100 feet long, right? Real basic stuff. So first trench, completely underwater. Pulling the camera back, it is covered in sludge. Second trench, same thing. And we're thinking, oh crap, that's not good. This 27-year-old system, it's already failed because this guy has gone so long between pumping. We go to the drain field 3. Drain field 3 is actually dry and it's taking water. That's good. Problem because he's damaged 2 out of his 3 drain fields, so it's not great, but at least the system is still functional enough until you get a chance to address the drain fields. So you may be asking, okay, well, I've got 2 out of 3 drain fields that are failed. What do I do? And unfortunately, it's kind of one of those, it's not much you can do as a buyer in that situation, right? As long as the system's functional, it's functional, right? When somebody neglects the system, now that gives you the opportunity to say, well, hey, look, you haven't taken care of it in this amount of time. I want a credit or some kind of assistance in adding an additional drain field. But at least in our state, there's no regulation saying that they have to say yes, right? Now, if all 3 drain fields failed, yeah, now obviously that system needs to be replaced. Everything needs to get addressed at that time, right? But if 2/3 of the system's failed, 1/3 still functional, you're kind of stuck, right? Let me know below. Have you ever had to purchase a house, had a septic inspection, and found those partially okay? Tell me. I'm curious about your experiences. Maybe your experience can help somebody else with their problems. Leave a comment below for us, all right? So, we look through this. We see that the drain fields are looking pretty rough. It's still taking some water. And now we get to play the fun game of tell the buyer what's going on, right? And then that is where we run into our next issue. All right, so now, after I had found out that these drain fields were not looking super great, I had gone through all my processes of seeing, are they functional? What do they look like? All that good stuff. Now it's time to go talk to the buyer, right? That's where we run into a little bit of a headache because the buyer had just spent the last 2 hours talking with the homeowner who was convinced that septic systems don't need to be pumped. You don't need to take care of them. They work on their own. They never fail. Now I've got to explain to them that, like, hey, it's working kind of, but it's on its last leg, and you make sure you budget for future repair. And they were struggling to understand, how is that even possible? How could you possibly have a drain field that's only 27 years old getting ready to fail? And so now I get to play the fun game of breaking the bad news to a homeowner to tell them that, hey, you know, because, or to a buyer, because, hey, the homeowner previously didn't take care of things. And so now that makes it to where the property you're purchasing is going to have a little bit of a problem potentially with your septic. And then they're going to have to make sure that they budget for the eventual repair / replacement. So the long story short of this is, if you're purchasing a home, it's very important to make sure you get an inspection. But if you own a home, it's also very important to make sure that you take care of your tank and all of your systems, because you can potentially run into a problem of, well, if you don't pump it, it'll fail. And then that will be expensive, and you're not gonna have a good time doing that, right? So general guidance, at least in our area, is to pump out your tank every 2 to 5 years, right? Depending on how many people occupy your house. I generally say that a family of 4 will generally get it pumped every 2 to 3 years, right? No flushable wipes, human waste and toilet paper is the only thing that should ever go in there, right? Flushable wipes, feminine products, plastic, cigarette butts, that sort of stuff's gonna cause all sorts of problems. So you wanna make sure you're very conscious of that and very careful. If you found this useful, if you enjoyed this commentary, please hit that like button, subscribe. I have more videos posted every day, guys. Till next time.